Hey guys, thanks for clicking. We really appreciate that. So today we're going to replace the hydro belt on one of our zero turns. Really important to check those because they're kind of hidden underneath and you forget about them a little bit if there's no problems. But if that hydro belt goes, that machine is not moving anywhere. So we're gonna take a look underneath. We'll inspect the belt, see what it's gonna take to do it, and we'll go through it step by step. So here we go. So we are working on the bad boy again. I know this is one of our older machines. That's why it seems to be very popular on the fix-it item. But anyway, we've got it up on the ramps, which makes life so much easier because the belt is right dead nuts in the middle underneath here. So if you put a jack underneath, it's kind of in the way. So these little ramps are awesome and they make things easier. So here we go underneath. And not too complicated under here. You're on this machine, because some of them are different. The PTO belt is the one on the bottom. That's for the blades. And the upper belt, near that tensioner, that's all for the hydro drive up there. So on this machine, the tensioner is right here. It's really easy to loosen up, so I'm just gonna loosen it up because it's easy to do. Otherwise, we probably could just put a pry bar on there and pop off the belt. But I'm gonna go ahead and take, I think it's 2 3/4 inch nuts there. I just loosen those up, and that'll loosen the tensioner up, which will just make things a little easier for us. And we'll go from there and see what's going on. I don't know if you can see in here. Let's try to get up in here with the video camera, but that's the belt for the hydro. Actually, you can see pretty good. Look at that big crack in the belt. There's a lot of cracks in there, so you know that means that is definitely something. Sorry for the shaky camera work, guys. That is definitely something that needs some attention, because like I said, if that hydro belt goes, this machine is dead in the water and you can't do anything with it. So for a $25 belt, let's get that out of there and we'll go from there. So I loosened up the tensioner here, so now that moves freely. That makes things a lot easier for us. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the PTO belt. It's really easy. You don't have to loosen up the tensioner on that one. I need 2 hands to do it, but basically you just put some pressure down here and then just spin the pulley around and that'll come right off. So that's what we're gonna do next. Like I said, you really just take your hand and pull down on this as you spin the pulley. It slides right around. Comes off nice and easy. Okay, so I'm trying to go step by step. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I'm underneath here. But the way I did it is you take the belt off of the hydros first. So right over the top of both of the hydros, and that's how you can just push the belt right over the top and it comes out. So that's the first thing I did. And as you can see, now it's looped up like this. There's a tail on it. So when you put it back through, you feed it right through there. I'll try it when I finish this. I'll go over it in detail also how I did it, so you know what you're looking at if you attempt to do this yourself. Okay, so next part is you do have to remove this stopper. This is really just it's just a stopper so the PTO doesn't spin when you engage it. And you do need to pull the wire for your PTO so you can get the belt over these 2 parts of the PTO. So that's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna pull this stopper out of here. So now once you get that out of there, the PTO will spin freely. Don't stress out about it. It doesn't matter which way it goes. Your electrical thing only goes in one spot, so you don't really have to mark it. Plus, I think it hits the tensioner. Anyway, so don't worry about that. But now that you get that off, you can easily get your belt to come over the PTO over here. So that's where we are now. Let's get to the last part so we can get this belt off. Okay, so last part is you just move your tensioner. Sorry, this creeper sucks. You move this tensioner over so you get your threaded part out, and then you take your belt, and there you go. She's off. And here it is. There are a lot of stress cracks on there, and then as you can see, get a little closer here. Sorry about that, guys. Those are some pretty big cracks in that belt, so undoubtedly it needs to be changed. I think it's just that one big crack, but there's a lot of wear on the sides of the belt too. Remember, belts don't like stretch. The V part here wears out, and that's how they get smaller that way, is because the V part wears out where my finger is here. So when you take a belt out and you say, oh, it's stretched out, it's not really stretched, it's just that the V part gets smaller, and then it takes up less space in the pulley, and that's how the belt gets loose. So that's that. And here's our new belt. We got it, we checked the lengths, so it's definitely blank. This is the brand, and there is the bad boy part number right on there. This is for the Maverick 60 with the Kawasaki on it. I don't know if that matters for belt size, but now we're gonna go finagle it back onto the machine, which is always the fun part. He laughs like, oh yeah, that looks so easy. So the fun part now is you gotta get back underneath there, and you have to try to remember exactly how you took that belt out, which way you twisted it, and you pretty much just have to finagle it back in there. But the important things to know is what you do and you do not have to remove, okay? So you just have to remove the tensioner, and you have to remove that little stopper for the PTO and the PTO plug. But other than that, the belt goes right up under there, and it's really not that bad. Now I say that before I go to install it, but anyway, here we go. So first part of going back in is to remember, you bow the belt like that, and you want to, from underneath here, is go through this part this way, over in between the two tensioner pulleys. You can see that. And then once you go through there, then you're gonna loop over your right and left hydro on top. And then once you get that in there, then you'll bring it back. I hope this makes sense. You bring it back around, and then the last part you'll do is you'll hook it on the main engine pulley. Okay, so that's where we are. We got that just about on there, and then we will reset our tensioner so we can tighten that back up. Guys, so sorry, this is really difficult to do when the floor is so close to the bottom of the mower. Anyway, there is a route pattern, but remember, you just have to go over in between these two here, and then you can reroute the belt. So now I have the belt back on there, and I'm gonna flip this around real quick. Hang on. Doing this on a bad boy mower. They do have a belt pattern, so you can see, two hydros and tensioner, main pulley, if you need a reference. Okay, now that I have the belt on and I have it in the right order, I checked it out. Always kind of spin it with your hand. Make sure it has caught all the belly. If it's on the V part of the pulley, make sure the V part of the belt is in there, not the back side of the belt. As the other ones are flat pulleys, and then that's the flat part of the belt. Just a quick reference to double check, because when you're underneath this machine, even though it's not a very complicated thing, you are underneath, and it looks a little tricky sometimes. So make sure you got that right. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to reinstall our tensioner. Once we get the tensioner in there, then we can spin our PTO. We'll put our stop back in, we'll put our plug back in, and we'll go from there. So now we have the belt on. So obviously, if you have the pattern to compare to, then you can double check and say, all right, it's looped, it's the right way. Then, like I said before, make sure the V part of the belt is in all the V part of the pulleys, and the flat part of the belt is on the flat pulleys. That's just a quick check. Then put your tensioner back in, tighten it up, and you know, I don't know, there's all kinds of fancy ways to check the tension of a belt, but I do things a little bit simple. I can feel it's a pretty good tension on there. If you want to tighten it a little bit more, you can, but better way to do it is to get everything back together, because the tensioner, especially on this machine, is very easy to reach. Put everything back together, and then when you start the machine, see if the belt is rattling or there's any lap in the belt. And if it's not and it's running smooth, then don't over tighten the belt, because over tightening the belt can ruin some of the bearings on your pulleys, and it can also shorten the life of the belt, so you don't want to do that. So that's where we're at right now. Next, we're going to put in our stopper for the PTO and our plug, and then we will hook our belt for the blades back on there, and then we'll give it one more visual check before we start it up. We reinstalled the stopper. I don't know what the proper name for that bolt is there, but it stops the PTO from spinning. So reinstall that. Make sure you tighten it up, and like I said, just quick reference, you just make sure that your plug is in the right spot, and then you know your PTO is in the right spot. So once we do that, then actually we can put the plug right back in there, nice and easy. Make sure it's free of everything. And now we will reinstall the PTO belt. Okay, so now we're gonna put the PTO belt on. Just make sure real quick, like I was saying before about the pulleys, when you loosen this, that nothing fell off the blades. I can actually spin the belt here, and I went and I checked visually. So you pretty much just get this on like here, and then you can spin, because I have it on camera. It's just not gonna go easy, right? And that's how I do it, guys. I just spin it right back on like that. And then obviously before you start the machine, just check your belt and your pulleys on the front part. And this does wobble, that's normal. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So, okay, that's that. Last but not least, we got everything on there. There's a couple of grease fittings down here. We tried to get some grease in those. Is to put your lock nut. So what they do is they use two nuts, same way it came off, but you want to make sure once your tensioner is set that you re-tighten this. I think it's 2 3/4 inch wrenches. You can just tighten those bolts so that tensioner does not loosen up. And then as soon as we get that going, we're going to start it up, and we'll take a visual on the belt. Okay, so last but not least, I showed you in that last little clip there to eyeball the belt, and it's not, you know, rattling or shaking or anything like that. So when it's like that, that means you're pretty good on the tension. The only other test is to take it out, you know, put some pressure on it and see if it slips or anything like that. But usually you're pretty good on there as long as it's not slapping around. Anyway, now we'll give it a test ride. Okay. Let's go for a little test drive. Make sure it's good. What do we got? Start her up. All right, folks, that's it. So belt done. Honestly, it probably took me about 20 minutes. It took longer because I'm doing the video, but really didn't take much longer than about 20 minutes. Put it on the ramps on, you know, tensioner, the whole deal. Really was not that hard to do. So if you're contemplating doing it yourself, any type of machine that's similar to this, which most of them are pretty close, it's definitely doable. You can handle it yourself. And like I said, visually check out those belts and make sure, because you don't want one of those things to break, because it'll always break at the most awkward time in the worst place possible. And then, like I said, you can't move the machine. And you know, for the 20 bucks or whatever it is for the belt, 20, 25 bucks is well worth some preventative maintenance on there, especially if you've had it for a few seasons. So hope this video helped. Thanks so much. Hit like and subscribe. Peace.